Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode number 1 of Lunch with Local Legends. And my very first guest here today is Mr. Brent Tallman.
Well, thank you for having me. It's good to be here with you, Dan.
I'm glad to have you here. Are you comfortable?
Sure.
All right. Well, I guess what we should do first is kind of tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, I am currently the director of Maxlife at St. Peter's Church in Lake Mary, right off of Reinhardt Road.
Okay. What do you do there?
I run the Maxlife program, which is all about, it's a community outreach ministry of St. Peter's Church in Lake Mary, and we're all dedicated to developing leaders intentionally from 4 years old all the way up through college.
Oh, how long have you been doing that now?
We've been doing that for 5 years now.
Okay. What is this something that you created yourself? How did this come about?
Yeah, actually, it is. It's something that God started working on me, and the background story is really I was trying to think out how far to go back on this. It actually started all the way back when I signed my boys for NFL flag football, and signed them up, and one of the teams didn't have a coach, so I emailed the league and said, hey, where's the coach? And they're like, hey, you can be the coach. And so that's what we did. And the short of that was, as I started working with kids, I realized that, hey, there was a need for a place where kids could work really on life skills, communications, building trust, teamwork, those types of things. And that led me to actually going all the way over to Egypt. And in Egypt, I was able to see how they were using things like sports and life experiences and experiential learning gains and activities to really help and develop leaders and grow leaders. And I ended up working at a place called HAP Program. And I was working with men and women getting out of jail and prisons.
Wow.
And so I did that, started a 16-week Bible-based whole life training program for these people that were getting released.
Okay.
And what happened with that was almost every single one of the people that would come to that program, very incredible, very gifted, very talented. They just used their gifts and talents and relationships in the wrong way.
Okay.
And so I was like, but they all had a story, and the story basically started sometime between the ages of 14, where they made this decision to get on this path. And so that's where Maxlife came from, where I was like, you know what, I really need to get on the front end and start working with them in when they're younger. And so that's basically what happened. Started working, and so Maxlife was born in April of 2013.
That's incredible. All right. I just want to say a quick hello here. Do you remember Herb and Nadine, my neighbors?
Yeah, I do remember.
I think you did a deal with them years ago.
Packer fans.
Yeah, Brent here used to be in the mortgage business. That's how I first originally met him. I consider him to be one of the best in the business, and he decided to get into children's ministries, which I think is outstanding. So hello Nadine. We got Earl and Heather Castro that's joined us as well. Welcome. We got Arcoma. We got Beth Ann. We got Jane. Oh, Jane Williams from New Jersey. She's a blast from the path. Welcome. Glad to see you.
My son's in New Jersey at Coast Guard training.
That's right. Yeah. Your boy is he's a candidate right now, right?
He is. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Hey Shane, how you doing, buddy? And Leslie, how you doing? So yeah, let's continue with. All right. So that's what birthed the concept of you getting involved with Max. So what kind of little bit about Egypt, because that's just incredible.
About Egypt?
Yeah.
Well, what happened was I started to share with a friend of mine about wanting to do camps and providing a place where kids could get away from electronics and really work on some of these things. So I was kind of given a brief vision of what I thought these camps would look like, and he was like, "Hey, Egypt, they already have this in Egypt. You need to go to Egypt."
That's just unusual for me. I mean, Egypt of all places. Why would they have this already in place there, but not here in the States?
Sure. Well, the church in Egypt wanted they 90% of Egypt is Muslim, and the church in Egypt wanted to find a way to serve their Muslim brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And so they knew trying to get a Muslim to come into a church would probably never happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just wanted a way to connect and engage and serve them. And so they built a facility outside of Cairo that was basically camps where they have cabins and recreational fields and all kinds of amazing things, with the focus of really being able to serve people that wouldn't necessarily come into their church and be able to connect with them. And that's exactly what happened. And so that's really what we're trying to do as well, is be able to connect and serve families in our communities.
That's incredible. Hey, Ed, I see you just signed on. How you doing? Another friend of mine from New Jersey. Your wife is signed on. Say hello to Emily.
Hey, Emily.
And Tabitha. Hey, Tabitha. Thank you for coming on. All right, outstanding. Well, what are some of the challenges that when you first started this program? I'm sure it just wasn't a jump in, put up a flyer, and all of a sudden all these kids show up and you start turning them into leaders. So what was it that you had to do in order to kind of get something like this started? Because I got to tell you, I've known you for a long time. I saw this start from the very beginning, and it's incredibly successful now.
Yeah, it wasn't always that way. Well, it was successful in many ways, but maybe not in the ways that we normally think of it. So some of the challenges that we had in getting it started, one was when you're talking about working with people's kids and families, it's, how do you build trust? How do you make that connection where families would trust you, especially somebody they don't know that has no reputation? You're reaching out in the community and they don't know who you are. They don't know what you're about, what's going on. And so what we really decided to do, and if you know where St. Peter's is, one of the unique things about St. Peter's is we're not a huge facility. It's not like we have multi-million-dollar facilities where we have all this amazing resources and things like that. We didn't have any of that stuff. We had a facility that had rooms and a place that we could, play games like dodgeball on a field where we could, do soccer and football and that type of stuff.
Yeah, but you sold me right there. That's good times.
Yeah.
Dodgeball, kickball.
Exactly. And that's really part of, so part of our concept that we really focused on was how do we build trusted relationships? That's what we had. We had people that had a heart that really wanted to do something more than just provide a babysitting service, but a place that could really meet the needs of a family. Hey, these kids need to go somewhere. The parents are working. It needed to be safe. It needed to be secure. But also, how could we do something more than that and really use fun and creativity as a way to really build life skills and build these trusted relationships? And so that's really what we focused on, was building trusted relationship. And that really came down to not resources or anything like that, but really came down to people and really training our staff and our coaches to really focus on connecting with the kids, connecting with the families, and using the moments that came up in the course of, say, a summer camp, where a kid maybe gets out in dodgeball and they're upset about it. They're throwing a fit maybe because they got out. That gives us a moment at that time to really go and say, hey, let's talk through what happened. Why did it happen that way? What are some things that we could do different? And it's doing those things consistently that really begins to build life skills, with these kids.
Now, Maxlife, is it part of St. Peter's Church? Is it a separate entity?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, Maxlife actually is part of St. Peter's. We are a community outreach ministry of St. Peter's, so our focus really is reaching out in the community and meeting families where they are and helping them. And so subsequently, 85% of our participants at Maxlife come from outside, St. Peter's.
85%, interesting. Okay. All right. And where are you guys located again?
We are at 700 Reinhardt Road.
700 Reinhardt Road. Yeah, I go up and down Reinhardt Road just about every day, so I always see the signs out there.
Yeah.
Outstanding. All right. So how do people get involved if they want? Do you want people to get involved with your organization?
Absolutely. And really, one of the biggest things that's happened with Maxlife. So there's a number of ways to get involved. We have, first of all, our events and programs. Those are just the connecting points. So, for example, today, Seminole County Public Schools has a teacher workday, so there's no school going on.
Okay.
So we have a day camp
Mm-hmm.
where, because we know family stuff to work, it's not a national holiday. And so families could come this morning, drop their kids off. So from 7 a.m. to 6:30 tonight, we are providing a place for the kids to be, but not just a place to be, but a place that we're actually building these relationships, teaching life skills through the course of the activities and the events that we have planned.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a bunch of different programs like that. We have after school program that we go and we pick up kids from almost every single local school, public school here in Sanford and Lake Mary,
Mm-hmm.
as well as private schools. We have vehicles. We go pick them up, bring them in. So we have after school. We have anytime that there's a day off of school, unless it's the national holiday, we either have day camps or like we have Christmas camp coming up. There's 2 weeks in Christmas. We have a spring break camp, and of course all summer we have summer camps. And each one of those things is unique and different. And our whole focus in that is to build these trusted relationships that allow us to help kids and the people we come in contact with to grow holistically. And when we talk about holistically, we're talking about we want to see leaders develop uh, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. So we want to see a person grow to become a whole person, not just one person. You would never, if a bodybuilder just went to the gym and worked out their right arm,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all they focused on, they would look kind of funny, and they would act kind of funny because their arm would be like this, and they wouldn't. So you want to grow holistically. You don't just want to focus on one thing, and so
So how do
that's
you go about doing that? I mean, because obviously, playing games, playing sports.
Mhm.
I mean, that's obviously part of the physical part
Sure.
of it. There's the team building part of it. So how do you accomplish some of those other goals?
So part of these things, all these things are these activities and events, camps and all that stuff. These are just connecting points.
Mhm.
That's all it is. And what it allows you to do is our key focus is trusted relationships.
Okay.
Because if you trust me, then you're going to open up, and and then I'm going to be able to speak into your life in a whole different way. If you don't trust me, you're going to be guarded. You're not going to allow me into your life. And so our whole focus with Maxlife is how do we build trusted relationship with these kids, with these families. And so, working with people's kids really gives us an opportunity to build trusted relationship with parents.
Mhm.
Because, hey, this happened here today. Your kid got mad, your kid responded not in the right way to another kid.
Mhm.
And it's not telling the parent, hey, your kid's terrible. It's not that. It's really gives us an opportunity to partner together with them and say, hey, let's work on this together. And this is what we see in your child, and this is how we can help them do that. And so we do plan. Some activities are much more intentional in that regards,
Mhm.
where we actually do fun games that we call them experiential learning games, where we may focus on something particular like communication. How do we listen? How do we talk? How do we receive feedback? Those types of things. So we may focus something, specifically on that. We also may focus on how do we build relationships. And one of the things I think is missing today uh, is kids being kids, and we do allow that where there's some free time and it's intentional. But here's how that works: is we allow kids to be creative and coming up with their own games and their own rules. And so yeah, it causes problems, because guess what happens? One kid wants to do something, another kid doesn't want to do something, or hey, they're not letting me do this. And so it becomes, yeah, it's can create some conflict in there, but it's in those moments when that's happening that they're learning skills like negotiation. They're learning skills about, oh, how can I present things in a way that maybe somebody would listen to. It is understanding too that maybe, guess what, I don't always get my way. I have to allow other people to be able to express their thoughts and their ideas, and maybe even try to implement those. When we try to control everything, kids don't learn that. They don't learn those skills. This is the way it is, and this is how you're supposed to operate. And so we actually do provide a place where kids are able to actually experience those things, be creative, learn conflict resolution skills, those types of things as well.
That sounds really good. Allowing kids to be kids. I mean, give them the chance, the opportunity, to be able to, just to be kids. I mean, too many times you see, they get busy, the parents get busy, and you get the TV babysitter, that happens, and this, what you're describing just sounds wonderful to me. How many kids are you handling at any given moment?
It varies. Our summer camps, usually in a course of a week, roughly about 100.
Yeah.
Our after school is roughly around mid 50s to 60s.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And how many members are on your team?
Obviously, summertime is a lot more,
Yep.
and that's one of the things you had asked about. How do people get involved?
Right.
One of the biggest impacts of Maxlife is obviously the camps and all that. Those are wonderful opportunities, but even more than that is we are teaching kids peer-to-peer leadership. Because here's what happens, especially in the summertime, we take kids from 7th grade all the way up through college. We create a summer leadership team, and those is made up almost entirely of college students that have made the commitment to come and spend the summer with us, to play a part of this team that helps facilitate and runs the summer camps. And so these kids are learning things like, how do I manage staff? How do I deal with parents? How do I deal with kids? They're learning things about time commitments and thinking ahead and setting things up and organizing things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also take kids, like I mentioned, from 7th grade all the way up through college. They can come and volunteer, and they get assigned a role. They get training, and it's amazing to me on a Monday morning, because every week is a different camp. We do a different themed camp. And so 5 o'clock in the morning, they have to come. We have to decorate and get things ready for the camp for the week. So if you come on a Monday morning to Maxlife, you're going to see 20 to 30 kids at 5 a.m. in the morning, most of them volunteers, giving up their time to serve. And they're learning amazing leadership skills just through that. And so it's a great way for people to be involved. And some of them will come like in high school and that they need bright future hours, and we can give those opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And we also hire people as well, especially in the summertime, we need extra help.
Right. And
so it provides, just on an economic level, it provides a way for kids to be able to work and to be in a team environment. And so yeah, that's another way people get involved.
Okay, so I know one question that will probably be on a lot of parents' mind, and you probably hear it all the time. How do you keep these kids safe?
Safe. Well, yeah. So one of the ways we do that, one is we have very low student to coach ratios. So it's typically somewhere between 1 to 8, roughly. Obviously, in our situation, because we are so active in the things that we do, even in our after school program and our summer camps, like our summer camps, they rotate to a new activity roughly every 40, 45 minutes.
Okay. So
we're constantly keeping busy, constantly doing new stuff, new games. And so one of the things we do in that way is every time we rotate, they have to do a head count, obviously, to know what the kids are. As far as staff goes, even our employees, even our volunteers, they have to do a program called Safeguarding God's People, which is a training that they take that gives them ways on how to keep kids safe and keep themselves safe in those environments. So everybody's required to do that. Everybody that's in high school on through, we do background checks. It's in the simple things of just knowing where the kids are, keeping doors locked, limiting the access, knowing who is interacting with the kids. That's probably our biggest thing, and making sure that
we lost any kids yet.
We have not.
Well, that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
Probably would have heard about it if you did. Well, let me do a shout out. James is on. James from our Bible study. Will Haneo is a past customer. Hey, Will, how you doing? Frank. Kevin Bordeaux, how you doing, buddy? I reached out to Kevin yesterday, let him know I was doing this. I was stealing some ideas from him, and I told him imitation is the highest form of flattery.
There you go.
All right. So Well, tell me, you mentioned you let the kids come up with their own games sometimes.
Mhm.
That just sounds really cool to me. You allow the kids to kind of use their own imagination. Uh, what are some of the? Have any examples? I know you weren't prepared for this, but this is some. What are some examples of some of these crazy games these kids might have come up with that kind of stands at the top of your mind?
That's a that's a good question. I don't know about games, but they have in some of our like structured activities,
Mhm.
we give them free reign in a lot of the things. Like for example, if they have to create a team flag,
Yeah.
so we say here's equipment that you can use, and you need to create a team flag, and of course there's 6, 8, 10 of them on a team. So one getting the input into place, and the things they come up with are pretty amazing. How creative they are. Sometimes we have them decorate, say a coach, where they maybe we did one where one of our coaches was getting married, so they did a wedding dress, and it's so funny to see kids and the things they come up with things like that
I
that
can
you would
only
never.
imagine. Have you ever been decorated?
I I have actually. They like to decorate my face
Sure.
and with a lot of paint.
Good.
That's one of the biggest things they like to do. So yeah,
I wish I had the opportunity. I know there's a couple of those photos you have online, and if I had a chance to kind of plug in on here, I would. But maybe I'll post it in some of the comments later on.
absolutely.
So, what are some challenges then that you're dealing with?
So one is when you're constantly working with kids and families, to one is always stay on point,
Mhm.
to remember what you're doing, the reason why you're there.
Okay.
It can get tiring. And if you're doing the same things day in and day out, even though you may be doing new activities and things like that, it's easy to get off track
Yeah.
and to think, hey, we're just providing another, babysitting service. And that's not what we want to do.
Yeah.
And so it's constantly refreshing the vision and why we're doing it, not only in my own heart and mind, but also in my staff, and continually doing that and sharing that with families as well.
Okay.
Is hey, it's not that you're getting a service, you are getting that, but you're getting much more than that as well. And so continually telling that message, and telling the story too. It's an area that I think we need to focus on a little bit more, because we get things all the time from families and kids where, hey, this is something that they learned, this is something that was going on, and to capture those stories and to, to be able to tell those to people as well.
Okay. I see Fawn has joined us. Hey, Fawn, I haven't had a chance to meet you yet. She is my cousin's, I guess, relatively
She's got
new
the same
wife.
last name.
She does have the same last name.
That's good.
All right. So, well, I mean, obviously, I'm a local real estate broker in town. Um, some of the people that would be watching this here today are local professionals, tradesmen, business owners, community leaders. What can we do to help make this goal, make this vision of yours a greater success?
Well, I think if you know of people,
Yeah.
or that if you're looking for a place that really wants to work and develop the next generation of leaders, then Maxlife is really the place to be. If you have kids that need to be involved in things like after school care or camps, any of those types of things, if you're looking for a unique and different experience, not just a babysitting service, but a place that really cares and wants to see people grow and develop holistically into who they were made to be,
Mhm.
then Maxlife is the place to be. And also, if you got kids that are older, we do run summer camps for high school and middle school kids.
Yeah.
But typically that's just one week out of the summer.
Yeah.
But the biggest work that's done with middle school and high school is done in people volunteering and coming to be part of the Maxlife coaching staff.
Mhm.
And so we call everybody that comes to Maxlife, no matter what their job is, and no matter what their position or their volunteer side, we call them coaches.
Okay.
And the reason being for that is because coaches communicate several things. A good coach communicates security. Like, hey, this is a safe place to be.
Mhm.
You're okay here. Um, a good coach communicates identity. You know who you are, and what you do, and your roles, and your personality, and those types of things. And we want our staff, whether they're volunteers or paid, to communicate the kids their identity and who they are.
Mhm.
A good coach also communicates accountability. Hey, when I give you an assignment, if you think about a coach on a baseball field or basketball or any sports, they you practice certain things to do, right?
Mhm.
And if you don't do it, a good coach comes up and says, "Hey, why didn't you do it that way? You know, we practiced this, we talked about it. This is what you need to do." And that's a thing that's missing, I think, a lot is accountability. We don't necessarily want to hold people accountable for standards and things that are set,
Mhm.
and but a good coach communicates that, and that's one thing that we want, our coaches to be able to communicate as well.
Okay.
So,
Wonderful. All right. Well, then, well, why don't you tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, learn more about Maxlife, and
Sure.
whether it's to let the kids kind of get involved in the program, or maybe some volunteer work, or I don't know if it's this connected you in the same exact way for all of them, or
Yeah. So, well, one is I would want to say that there is we have a community event coming up, our trunk or treat. This is our fourth one that we're doing. It's on Sunday.
thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah. So, I was going to ask you about any future events coming up.
Yeah. So this is a great way, and we're looking for businesses and for individuals that want to come and participate. It's Sunday, October 28th, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And come decorate a trunk and pass out candy. We get over 500 people that come to this event. It's a free event, and we would love to have you. Um, and as with most of our stuff, if you go to our website, which is mymaxlife.org, you can sign up, register to reserve your spot. We would love to have more people involved in that event from our community. It's just a great way to be able to connect and build relationships. So that would be a great start. The other thing is, if you want to get a hold of me personally, I'm always willing to talk and discuss what we're doing with you, and I would love to do that. And probably the best way to reach me is just email me. And should I just say what the email is?
If you want to, yeah, we can put it on a post here later.
So it's Brent, Brent, at, I'm going to give you the short version, SPLM.org, which is
SPLM.org.
Yeah, St. Peter's, Lake Mary. So SPLM.
Okay.
.org. And we're also looking for ways that maybe we could share with some of the things that we're doing with other people. So I would be more than happy to connect with you.
Very good. Richard, thank you for signing on. How you doing, buddy? All right, good. So to connect with you then, it's mymaxlife.org is the website.
Mm-hmm.
And you have an event coming up on October 28th.
Correct.
Between
5 and 7 p.m.
5 and 7 p.m. And it's called Trunk
or Treat.
Trunk or Treat.
Yeah, decorated trunk. Bring lots of candy. We have about 500 kids that will come there. So.
Well, Brent, I've told you before, but first time publicly, I think you do an outstanding job with the outreach. Keep up the good work. Let us know if there's anything that we can do to help make it better. And well, we wish you great success.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, and thank you everybody for coming on board for Lunch with Local Legends, number one. Well, very first episode number 1. Have a great day.